Zhang Ruokan transported his true qi to his right arm, pinched his fist with 5 fingers, and punched the ground. Boom! With a loud bang, the ground shook suddenly, and a large crater with a diameter of 3 meters appeared. The area around the pit was full of splinters. Observing the extent of the damage caused to the ground by this punch, Zhang Ruokan could probably estimate his current strength, and said to himself, without using the dragon elephant Prajnapam, you can burst out with the power of 78 bulls. If you use the dragon elephant Prajnapam, you should be able to burst out with the power of the 88 ox. I've just reached the realm of the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm now, and there is still a lot of room for improvement. Maybe I have a chance to reach the extreme power of 100 cows. In the yellow extreme realm, no one can surpass the extreme power of 100 oxen. However, as long as the martial body is enough to defy the sky, it can infinitely approach 100 bulls, or even reach 100 bulls. In the previous life, Zhang Ruokan's strongest explosive power in the yellow extreme realm reached 94 bulls. In that era 800 years ago, it represented the invincibility of the yellow pole realm. Now that you have reached the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, it will be very difficult to improve your strength in the future. Every time you improve the strength of a bull, it is not an easy task. With my current strength, I should be able to sweep away those yellow list martial artists. I'll test the power of the soul vein. The soul vein, the most special of the 36 meridians, connects the body and the. For ordinary martial artists, the soul is a rather mysterious thing, real existence, but it cannot be seen or touched. Zhang Ruokan sat cross-legged on the ground, breathing and breathing, calming down, and feeling the sacrificial power in the qi pool with all his heart. That sacrificial power was separated from the power of blood essence, like a small blood-red river, shuttling through the qi pool. This is the soul vein. Wow! Infusing the true qi into the blood-red soul vein, the soul vein began to tremble, breaking through the top of his head, like a red pillar of light 7 or 8 zhang high. A soul phantom that looked exactly like Zhang Ruokan appeared above his head, completely wrapped in red light, and seemed to be breathing and breathing. Such a scene can only be seen by Zhang. If it was an outsider, he could only see Zhang Ruokan sitting on the ground and cultivating, and he couldn't see the red pillar of light and the soul phantom at all. Under the influence of the soul power, the entire courtyard hung with gusts of yin wind and made a whirring sound. It's amazing that you can really communicate with souls. Only a martial artist of the heavenly extreme realm can have his soul out of his body, and I have done it in the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm. Zhang Ruokan's body and soul are linked by soul veins, and how long the soul veins are, how far the soul can be from the body. The martial artists of the heavenly extreme realm do not have such restraints. Zhang Ruokan's current cultivation is too weak, and his soul vein is only 8 zhang long. In other words, his soul can only be 8 feet away from his body at most. You must know that the soul of a martial artist in the heavenly extreme realm can be 100 miles away from the body at most. It only takes a thought to know what is happening dozens of miles away. Moreover, the martial artists of the heavenly extreme realm can also mobilize their true qi to refine their souls, so that their souls can grow stronger and become martial souls. Mobilize the power of the martial spirit, you can control the heaven and the earth, and use the aura of heaven and earth to attack the enemy. Therefore, every heavenly extreme realm martial artist is a martial art smith. You must know that Zhang Ruokan used to be a powerhouse of the great perfection of the heavenly extreme realm, so he naturally cultivated his soul into a martial soul. Moreover, it is also a rare thunderbolt martial spirit. It can transform the aura of heaven and earth into the power of thunder and lightning. Words, Zhang Ruokan can now mobilize the aura of heaven and earth and exert the of thunder and lightning. Of course, it can only mobilize the aura of heaven and earth within a radius of 8 zhang. The aura farther away cannot be mobilized. Thunder and lightning. Zhang Ruokan followed the techniques of the previous life, mobilized the aura of heaven and earth, and wanted to exert the power of thunder and lightning. It's a pity, it failed. How so? Although I have been reborn 800 years later, the power of my soul has not weakened, so how can I not use the power of thunder and lightning? Zhang Ruokan fell into hard thought, and suddenly, as if he had thought of something, he said, "Could it be that you say, my divine martial seal has become a divine martial seal of time and space, and my martial soul has also changed?" In order to understand the doubts in the happiness, Zhang Ruokan released Xiaohe, who was sealed in the Chengken Shenmu diagram, said the doubts in his heart, and asked it. At the realm of the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, can you go out of your body? Moreover, he also cultivated his soul into a martial soul. Who are you fooling? Xiaohe didn't believe Zhang Ruokan's words. Then, it said, only a martial artist of the great perfection of the heavenly extreme realm can cultivate his soul into a martial soul. Do you have no common sense in this seat? Zhang Ruokan didn't explain. He sat cross-legged on the ground and injected his true qi into his soul vein. Wow! An 8-jong long pillar of red light rushed out from the top of Zhang Ruokan's head. The soul phantom, suspended in the pillar of light, looks exactly like Zhang Ruokan. Out of body, other martial artists really can't see Zhang Ruokan's soul phantom. However, Xiaohe is different. Its eyes are different from ordinary people, its eyesight is extraordinary, and it can actually see the soul phantom suspended in the pillar of light. Your soul. It's really at the level of a martial soul. How is this possible? Xiaohe's eyes kept flickering, and he said, you must have hidden some secret. It is impossible for a normal person to cultivate a martial soul in the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm. Zhang Ruokan said, don't ask anything else, just tell me, what kind of martial soul is my martial soul? You have opened the space, time divine martial mark, and what you have cultivated is naturally the space, time martial soul. Xiaohe shook his head, feeling that Zhang Ruokan's talent was too great, which made it feel unacceptable. Temporal spirit. Zhang Ruokan said, Xiao Haidao, you take out the secret book of time and space, and turn to the third page, which has an explanation of the martial soul of time and space. Zhang Ruokan immediately took out the secret archive of time and space, turned to the third page, and sure enough, he saw 4 ancient characters written on the top, time and space martial soul. Third page, it is densely packed with small words, recording a lot of content about the time and space. After watching it for an afternoon, Zhang Ruokan wrote down all the contents. It's just that he can understand the content, but less than a tenth. After cultivating the space, time martial soul, you can start cultivating the space, realm and time imprint. Zhang Ruokan closed the secret book of time and space, and continued to think about the relevant knowledge he had just written down. Little Black said, young man, I have to remind you that your current cultivation is still too weak, and with the true qi reserves in your body, it is impossible to support the space realm at all, and it is impossible to condense the time imprint. It's best to wait until you break through to the Zon extreme realm before you start cultivating the space realm. Zhang Ruokan said, I don't need you to remind me, I also understand this truth. The power of space and time is too profound and too powerful, and with my current cultivation, it is difficult to harness those two forces. Zhang Ruokan put away the secret book of time and space, and said, wait until you break through the Xuanji realm and then cultivate the space realm. My cultivation has reached the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, and the dragon elephant has only cultivated 2 palms, and I can start cultivating the 3rd palm. There must be a balance between the cultivation of exercises and the cultivation of martial arts. Only by successfully cultivating the 3rd palm of the dragon elephant prajna palm can the power of the dragon elephant prajna palm be raised to the level of a human, level high, grade palm. In the next few days, Zhang Ruokan spent most of his time cultivating the 3rd palm of the dragon elephant prajna palm. Same time, he will also spend a lot of time continuing to practice the sheet inscription. If you learn all the 8 basic spatial inscriptions, you can refine a spatial ring with a larger inner space. As long as he sells the space ring, he can solve the dilemma of lack of money. When the time comes, you can use a large amount of silver coins to buy pills and quickly improve your martial arts cultivation. You know, he spent all his savings in order to buy the refining furnace, and now he is so poor that he can't even take out 1,000 silver coins. If after a while, he still can't learn all the 8 basic spatial inscriptions, and he can't even afford to take the blood pill. On this day, the Lord of the 9 counties came to the Yushu Palace again. Seeing Zhang Ruokan practicing his palms in the garden, he immediately rushed over and said, "Ninth brother, are you still in the mood to practice palms? Don't you know that the proud daughter of the Lin family is engaged to the 7th brother?" Quote. Zhang Ruokan withdrew the true qi in his body, stopped, and asked, "Which of the Lin family's proud daughters of the sky?" Quote. The 9-county lord showed a speechless expression and said, "Of course it's your cousin, Lin Lucian." As soon as the news spread from the palace, it is said that the father and the queen have agreed to the wedding date for next year's Dancho festival. Quote. Hey, what do you mean? Lu Shan is about to marry 7th brother, so you're not sad at all. From now on, you're going to call her sister, in-law. Quote. The lord of the 9 counties chased after him. Zhang Ruokan changed into a brand new military uniform, put the ice and fire Qilin armor on the inside of the military uniform, and said, "Their Lin family is engaged to the 7th prince, what does it have to do with me? Why should I be sad? 9th sister, since you are here, you will go with me to the Yellow Rank Martial Arts Palace again." Quote. What are you doing in the Yellow Rank Martial Fighting Palace? Could it be? Quote. The 9-county lord's pretty face showed a look of surprise, a slender jade hand covered his lips, and he said with some trembling, "I heard that you have been cultivating in the barbarian god pool for 24 days in a row, could it be that your cultivation has broken through to the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme Realm?" Quote. Zhang Ruokan smiled and nodded. It's really one, how can the cultivation speed be so fast? The 9-county lord's beautiful eyes widened, and his jaw was about to fall to the ground. You must know that she is also a martial arts genius, and at the age of 16, she has reached the extreme position in the Yellow Extreme Realm. But compared with Zhang Ruokan, she feels like a mediocre talent. Zhang Ruokan and the 9 counties lord drove out of the palace gate in a gorgeous ancient car and rushed towards the Yellow Level Martial Arts Palace. The Yellow Rank Martial Arts Palace is a good place to make money, and if you can win 10 more games in a row, you will be rewarded with 1 million silver coins. With so many silver coins, it was enough for Zhang Ruokan to buy a large number of pills to use to impact the Xuanji realm. As for the 8 basic space inscriptions, I still have to learn to carve them slowly. Your Royal Highness the 9th Prince, you are finally out of the palace again. This time, you won't have the same luck as last time. Han Qinglo walked out from behind a palace wall, holding her hands behind her back, staring at the distant car, with a cold chill on her face. Zhang Ruokan and the 9 county lords had just left the palace, and Han Qinglo, one of the 4 disciples of the Queen's mother, also left the palace and rushed in the direction of the Huang Level Martial Arts Palace. Zhang Ruokan and the 9 county lords had just arrived outside the Yellow Level Martial Arts Palace, when they heard a deafening shout from the Martial Arts Palace. Immediately afterwards, a decapitated corpse was carried out of the Wudo Palace. Zhang Ruokan glanced at the decapitated corpse and asked the steward of the Yellow Level Martial Do Palace, "Lord Steward, what's going on?" The steward of the Yellow Level Martial Do Palace looked like he was in his 30s. He looked quite thin, sighed, and said, "Today, a life-killing swordsman came to the Yellow Level Martial Do Palace, and all the martial artists who fought with him were all beheaded by him with a single sword, without exception. This is the 8th. The 9 counties lord's face changed slightly, and he said, "Is it just a sword?" The steward nodded and said, "That's amazing. I have been in the Yellow Level Martial Arts Fighting Palace for 10 years, and I have never seen a young man who can cultivate his swordsmanship so ruthlessly, and coldly, and he is as fast as lightning with a single sword. It's horrible. How old do you think he is?" The 9 counties lord said, "A martial artist who can kill the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme Realm with a single sword is at least 18 or 9 years old." The steward shook his head and said, "His name is Allah, and he is 15 years old." The 9 county lords were stunned for a moment. 15-year-old deadly swordsman, it's kind of interesting, let's go take a look. Zhang Ruokan walked into the Huang-level martial arts palace with his hands behind his back. At this moment, on the battle platform, there was a young man with a yellow face and thin muscles. He looked to be 14 or 15 years old, dressed in tattered clothes, and carried a rusty iron sword in his hand. The iron sword was dyed red, dripping with drops of blood. His body stood straight, like a sculpture, but it exuded a terrifying murderous aura. After killing 8 martial artists in a row, the momentum on his body climbed to the peak. Under the impact of that powerful murderous aura, no one dared to go on the battle platform at all. Zhang Ruokan glanced at the young man standing in the center of the battle platform, who was also a young swordsman, and he could clearly feel the sword intent and murderous aura on the young man named Allah. Zhang Ruokan nodded lightly and said, "Talented, sword chi is free. His sword intent realm has reached the level of freewheeling, and moreover, there is also killing intent in his sword intent." The 9 county lord was also looking at the young man holding the blood sword, and said, "He doesn't seem to be a pure human race, but a half-human of the demon wolf half-human race." Zhang Ruokan said, "That's right. It's a demon wolf half-human, indeed. Look at his eyes, they are like the eyes of a wolf, they are a faint blood red." At this moment, a cold laugh came from the distance. "Cousin, I haven't seen you for 3 years, I really miss my cousin very much." Zhang Ruokan looked in the direction where the laughter came from, and saw a handsome man with a pale face, standing in the stands, looking at him with a smile. Moreover, there is also an acquaintance, Lin Lucian. Lin Qishan was wearing a white chiffon shirt, with a sachet and a ring around her waist, and seemed to have grown taller, with a graceful figure. Her skin was as white as snow, and her long black hair hung down to her waist. I have to say that Lin Lucian is indeed extremely beautiful, with picturesque eyebrows, eyes like stars, red lips like gems, a slender neck, a slight peak, a slender jade waist, and straight legs, which... Cousin, don't you even know your cousin? Lin Chanu stared at Zhang Ruokan. His smile was very feminine, with a bit of evil spirit. Seeing Lin Lucian, Zhang Ruokan roughly guessed Lin Chanu's identity. Since the other party took the initiative to call him, Zhang Ruokan was not a rude person, so he walked over and said, "It's true that I haven't seen you for a long time, but I didn't expect to meet you in the yellow-level martial arts arena." The 9 county lord whispered in Zhang Ruokan's ear, "Ninth brother, don't get too close to Lin Chanu. This person has bad character, improper scheming, insidious and cunning, and is not suitable for friendship." The voice of the 9 county lord was very faint, but it was still heard by Lin Chanu. Lin Chanu's ears moved slightly, his eyes were cold, and a cold snort came out of his mouth. "Lord of the 9 counties, in front of Lin, it's not good to say bad things about Lin. This is the upbringing of the royal lord." Just when Lin Chanu let out a cold snort, the 9 county lord's face changed drastically, and he let out a muffled sound in his mouth, and took 3 steps back. When she stopped, a trace of blood spilled from the corner of her mouth, and she suffered internal injuries. Zhang Ruokan's heart secretly said, "Such a powerful cultivation, at least it has reached the late stage of the Xuanji realm, or even stronger." The Xuanji realm is also divided into 7 sub-realms. The early stage, the middle stage, the late stage, the minor pole, the middle pole, the great pole, and the great perfection. Any martial artist who has stepped into the Xuanji realm can be regarded as stepping into the ranks of martial arts powerhouses, and when he enters the military camp, he is at least a general-level figure. Of course, in the Xuanji realm, every time you ascend a small realm, it will be more difficult. Lin Chanu is worthy of being the first day of the Lin family. He is just 20 years old, and he has reached such an unfathomable realm. At this moment, there was finally a 9th challenger on the stage to challenge the 15-year-old life-killing swordsman. You must know that the first 8 were all killed by that deadly swordsman with a single sword. The person who dared to challenge him on the battlefield was definitely a person with extraordinary courage. A swordsman of death. I'll meet you for a while. Han Axe held a battle axe and stood opposite the deadly swordsman. Offstage, all the warriors looked towards the battle platform. This is the 9th game, and the challenger turned out to be Han Axe, who has the combat power of the yellow list martial artist. Also fought with Han Axe and knew that the 9 counties lord wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth, slightly distanced himself from Lin Chanu, and also stared at the top of the battle platform, and said, I don't know how many swords Han Axe can catch him. Zhang Ruokan said, if Han Axe can catch his first sword, he can save his life. If you can't catch the first sword, I'm afraid it's a dead end. Poof. In just an instant, Han Axe's human head flew out of the battle platform and fell to the ground like a ball. Game 9, win. After a slight silence, deafening shouts and exclamations resounded throughout the martial arts palace. Actually, I really only used one sword, and I didn't even see how he came out of the sword, only saw a sword shadow flashing past. What grade of swordsmanship does he use? It's too fast to see him draw his sword. Even the 9 princes, who are extremely talented, when I fought with Han Axe last month, it also took more than 80 moves to defeat Han Axe. As an even more talented young martial artist about to rise. The 9 county lord was also a little dumbfounded, and said, 9th brother, can you catch his sword? Zhang Ruokan smiled and said, his sword is indeed fast, but it also has fatal flaws. No see it, but I can see it of course, the world's martial arts are invincible, and only fast is not broken. The speed at which he draws his sword is so fast that even if there is a flaw, he can make up for it with speed. If it was a month ago, it's hard to say. As for now, Zhang Ruokan didn't say any more, and continued to look at the battle platform. Finally, the 15-year-old deadly swordsman ushered in the 10th battle. The person who fought against him was an old man ranked 17th on the yellow list, Su Heng. It's a pity that it was still just a sword, and Su Heng died under his sword, turned into a headless corpse, and fell in a pool of blood. It's so invincible. Win 10 games in a row, each with only one sword. Even in the face of the yellow list martial artists, it is no exception. Such a young swordsman is even more rebellious than the performance of the 9 princes a month ago. Soon, the person in charge of the yellow level martial arts palace competed to evaluate his performance on the battle platform. 6th on the yellow list. This is because no one can force him to use his true strength, so he is evaluated as 6th on the yellow list. If he shows all his true strength, he may be ranked even higher. The deadly swordsman Allah, still with a cold and ruthless face, walked down from the battle platform with a bloody iron sword. Not happy or sad. It wasn't until his eyes saw Lin Lucian that he finally showed a little softness, felt that his heart was beating a little fast, and immediately looked away, and said, Miss Lin, I have fulfilled my promise to you, I have won 10 games in a row, and I have not lost a single one. Lin Qishan showed a sweet smile, gently touched Ali's shoulder, and said, Allah, with such a powerful talent of yours, there will definitely be many big forces who want to win you over. Why do you want to stay in the Lin family and be a subordinate? Li bit his lip gently, stared at Lin Lucian's beautiful face, and said, Allah only wants to Lin's side forever, and there is nothing else to ask for. In his opinion, the woman in front of him is so perfect and holy, as long as she can guard her side, it is a happy thing. Lin Lucian smiled and nodded, but in the depths of her eyes, there was a trace of disdain that disappeared. Lin Qishan's eyes stared at Zhang Ruokan, with a little arrogance, and said with a smile, Cousin, your cultivation is also a sword, if you fight with Allah, how many swords can you catch Allah? Zhang Ruokan looked at Allah, thoughtfully, and said lightly, if someone is willing to protect you, you should cherish it. After saying this, Zhang Ruokan didn't look at Lin Qishan, and walked directly towards the battle platform. Lin Lucian saw Zhang Ruokan on the battle platform, her beautiful eyes condensed slightly, isn't he already a yellow list martial artist, why did he get on the stage again? Isn't. It's kind of interesting. Lin Chanu smiled slightly, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Perhaps, killing Zhang Ruokan on the battle platform is also a very interesting thing. Lin Chanu beckoned to Allah and said, Allah, come here. Young master, what are your orders? Ah Li Dao. Lin Chunyu said with a smile. Look at it carefully, that young man on the battle platform, he is one of Lu Shan's suitors. Maybe you'll kill him later. Are you sure? In my eyes, there are only two kinds of people, one is the living and the other is the dead. Either he dies or I die. Ali's eyes stared at the battle platform, his eyes became extremely sharp, and the whole person seemed to have turned into a sword. It's only been more than a month. How did the ninth prince come to the yellow rank martial arts palace again? Does he want to challenge the 10 yellow list martial artists? Unlikely. Only been such a short period of time, even if your cultivation improves, it won't improve. No one in the Yunwu monarchy has ever been able to defeat 10 yellow list martial artists in a row, it's too difficult, even the original 7 princes didn't do it. Every yellow list martial artist has the strength to fight against 10 yellow extreme realm great perfection martial artists at the same time. Some of the weaker yellow list martial artists, even if they can't defeat 10 yellow extreme realm great perfection martial artists at the same time, at least they have the ability to escape under the siege of 10 yellow extreme realm great perfection martial artists. Therefore, it is definitely not an easy task to defeat a yellow list martial artist. Is like the deadly swordsman Allah, who seems to be able to kill a yellow list martial artist with one sword. However, he would never be able to kill 10 yellow list martial artists with 10 swords. If the 9 princes have broken through to the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, as long as they don't meet the top 5 old guys on the yellow list, it shouldn't be difficult to win 5 games. Wait and see. Since the 9 princes dare to come to the yellow level martial arts palace, they must be quite assured. 9th prince, you're finally here at the yellow level martial arts palace again. Last time, it was your luck that won against me. This time, you're not so lucky. Lu Chengfeng's eyes were cold, and he was the first to walk towards the battle platform. Zhang Ruokan stared at Lu Chengfeng, who was standing opposite, and said, "You want to be the first to challenge me? Of course, are you afraid of losing the first game?" Lu Chengwen ducked. Zhang Ruokan nodded lightly, stretched out a hand, and made a gesture of invitation to Lu Chengfeng. Lu Chengfeng stared at the sword in Zhang Ruokan's other hand and said, "Fight with me, you don't use a sword." "I don't need to draw my sword yet." Zhang Ruokan said, "If you dare to despise my son, you will pay the price for your arrogance." Lu Chengfeng was very annoyed and felt that Zhang Ruokan was deliberately humiliating him. You must know that the battle a month ago, if it wasn't for his misjudgment, he would not have lost in Zhang Ruokan's hands at all. He wants to regain his lost face in the same place. Sparkle. Lu Chengfeng directly performed the human level martial art, meteor sword technique, and stabbed out with a sword, and the air around the blade made a pop sound. Compared with a month ago, Lu Chengfeng's attainments in swordsmanship have improved. The meteor sword technique displayed was more subtle and smooth, and it even made a piercing sword sound. Zhang Ruokan was as steady as Mount Tai, raised his arm, stretched out 2 fingers, and directly clamped the meteor sword in Lu Chengfeng's hand. Bang! Quote. Flick your fingers. A powerful concussive force transmitted from the sword body to Lu Chengfeng's arm. Smack! Quote. The sound of bones breaking rang out. Lu Chengfeng's tiger head shattered, the bones of his arms were broken, and the sword in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. How did your cultivation become so strong? Quote. Lu Chengfeng took 7 steps back, half of his body was numb from the shock, and he felt like he had been hit by a heavy hammer, and it was difficult to move his fingers. Zhang Ruokan only used 2 fingers to defeat him. Defeated Lu Chengfeng with 2 fingers, and Zhang Ruokan naturally surprised the audience. Even a martial artist in the early stage of the Xuanji realm could not defeat Lu Chengfeng so easily. It's getting more and more interesting. Quote. Lin Chunyu sat up straight slightly, staring at Zhang Ruokan standing on the battle platform, and the smile on his face became even stronger. Ranked 24th on the yellow list, In Washu. Ranked 19th on the yellow list, Huo Yi. Ranked 13th on the yellow list, Wang Linsheng. Ranked 9th on the yellow list, Zhang Genshu. Without exception, all of them were defeated in the hands of Zhang Ruokan. All of them were defeated in one move, and no one could force Zhang Ruokan to use the second move. Among them, the most powerful yellow list martial artist was Zhang Genshu, who ranked 9th, who could burst out with the power of 52 bulls, but he was still slapped out by Zhang Ruokan and knocked off the battlefield. It's terrible to defeat 7 yellow list martial artists in a row, and all of them were defeated in one move. It's only been a little over a month, and what terrifying state has the 9 princes cultivation reached? A martial arts wizard, you really can't look at it with common sense. In the yellow level martial arts arena, there was a heated discussion, and I felt quite incredible. Those young and beautiful aristocratic ladies were even more beautiful, staring at Zhang Ruokan standing on the battle platform with adoring eyes. The 9th prince is so handsome. If I can marry him and become his prince and concubine, even if I live 10 years less, I am willing. A beautiful girl of cardamom age stared at Zhang Ruokan obsessively, looking like her heart was overflowing. His Royal Highness the 9th Prince is such a proud person, how can he possibly look up to you? His Royal Highness the 9th Prince is not only good-looking and talented, but he is also always polite to every opponent. A person like him who is not arrogant, even if it is to stay by his side and be a maid, I am willing. When Lin Lucian heard the discussion of those noble ladies, she was very unhappy in her heart, and said coldly, Allah, it's time for you to make a move. Allah was holding an iron sword, his eyes were very firm, and he was about to climb the battle platform to challenge Zhang Ruokan. However, a gray figure quickly passed by him and stepped onto the battle platform first. It was an old man in his 60s, who looked rather thin and wrinkled, but his hair was darker than that of a young man, and his whole person looked energetic and his eyes were bright. Old man smiled and stared at Allah who was standing under the battle platform, and hee, little guy, you stay down there first, and let the old man come and meet His Royal Highness the 9th Prince for a while. Then, he stared at Zhang Ruokan again, and said, Old man, Shui Chenxin, come to learn the tricks of His Royal Highness the 9th Prince. His Royal Highness the 9th Prince, facing the old man, I don't know if he will use a sword. After the old man announced his name, an exclamation sounded below. Yellow list, the water asks the heart, he is, 40 years ago, Shui Wenxin became a yellow list martial artist. At the time, he was a genius. It's a pity that he was hated, plotted by a martial artist of the Xuanji realm, and was secretly injured, resulting in him being unable to break through to the Xuanji realm for the rest of his life. If it weren't for his secret injury, with his talent, it is estimated that he would already be a powerhouse in the Earth Extreme realm. Now there's something to see. If the 9 princes want to defeat him, it will probably not be an easy task. It is said that Shui Wenxin once defeated a martial artist in the early stage of the Xuanji realm, and his strength is very strong. The top 5 on the yellow list, all of them have the strength of the early stage of the Xuanji realm. The first and second 2 on the yellow list have also killed martial artists in the middle of the Xuanji realm. However, they joined forces with the 2 of them to kill that mid-zone extreme realm martial artist. An old man like Shui Wenxin, who has been cultivating in the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm for decades, must have cultivated a lot of martial arts, and the means are endless, which is not at all comparable to those young martial artists. The 3rd place on the yellow list proves his strength. Zhang Ruokan said, what kind of weapon did the predecessor use? Haha. The old man never used weapons, his hands and feet were the best weapons. Shui Wenxin smiled. Zhang Ruokan nodded and said, since that's the case, the juniors don't need weapons. Let's fight each other. Shui Wenxin's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a little appreciative gaze, and said, 9th Prince, don't be too big. The old man drinks the blood of brute beasts all the year round, refining his body with pills, although it is the cultivation of the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, he can already burst out with the power of 72 oxen. In the yellow extreme realm, no one can catch the old man's 3 punches, even the 1st and 2nd on the yellow list can't catch them. Zhang Ruokan said. It doesn't matter, I am much younger than my predecessors, and my strength may not be as good as my predecessors. Alright. In that case, you have to be careful. Shui Wenxin's arms were raised, and the true qi was transported to the 10 fingers, and with a sudden pinch, the joints of the whole body made a gurgling sound. Bang! Suddenly stepped on the ground and punched Zhang Ruokan's face. Shui Wenxin's fist power is so strong and fierce, it doesn't look like an old man's punching method at all. Zhang Ruokan slapped out with a palm, colliding with the punch made by Shui Wenxin. Shui Wenxin took 6 steps back, and Zhang Ruokan did not move. The punch I just gave had at least 56 oxen of strength, and he actually caught it lightly, but instead knocked me back. No wonder he dared to compete with me if he uses all his strength. It is estimated that he can burst out with more than 70 oxen of strength. Shui Wenxin was slightly startled, and then shot again. He didn't fight brute force with Zhang Ruokan, and used another punch method. Human-level mid-grade martial arts, chaotic cloud fist. A punch was thrown, and 6 fist phantoms appeared. 10 punches in a row, 60 fist shadows appeared. It's so powerful, his attainments in boxing have actually reached the high level of Freeheart. Zhang Ruokan could see at a glance the martial arts attainments of the water conscience. Generally speaking, only the powerhouses of the Earth Extreme Realm can cultivate to the realm of fist and go to a high level. In other words, if Shui Wenxin hadn't been plotted against back then, he would definitely have reached the cultivation of the Earth Extreme Realm by now, or even a higher cultivation. Zhang Ruokan had to deal with it carefully, and kept playing palm techniques, and dozens of palm shadows appeared in front of him, pressing back the punches that Shui Wenxin played. Zhang Ruokan's strength was above the water question, and the water question kept retreating, and gradually gained the upper hand. Awesome. The strength of the young man is stronger than the old man. If you can catch man's move, then the first position on the yellow list must be you. Obviously, Shui Wenxin is very confident in his next move. This trick, he had never used. It belonged to the life-saving trick at the bottom of the box. Once he makes a move, even if he is the first on the yellow list, he will definitely not be able to catch it the last punch. 2 faint golden rays were revealed in Shui Wenxin's eyes, and the black hair on his head was automatic without wind, and wisps of true qi shuttled between the hairs. Even his thin body seemed to have become a little taller. If you look closely, you will find that the skin of Shui Wenxin's arms is covered with a layer of metallic luster, which is almost like turning into 2 metal walls. Spirit-level low-grade martial arts, Vajra Divine Fist. Zhang Ruokan was slightly surprised, and recognized the martial arts performed by Shui Wenxin. Haha, that's right, it's the Vajra Divine Fist. Shui Wenxin smiled. King Kong Divine Fist is a relatively ordinary boxing martial art among the spirit-level martial arts, and it is widely spread, and the boxing spectrum of King Kong Divine Fist can be found in many counties. Of course, no matter how widely the Vajra Divine Fist spreads, even if it is ordinary, it is also a spirit-level martial art, and it is only possible to include this kind of fist method in the palaces, sects, and families of major counties. For ordinary martial artists, it is simply difficult to think of cultivating to the Vajra Divine Fist. It was only by chance that he learned one of the 18 moves of the Vajra God Fist, the Fire Vajra. Performing this move, Shui Wenxin was enough to burst out with the power of 78 bulls. Even the person who was number 1 on the yellow list now did not have such a powerful explosive power. In other words, if you cast the Vajra Divine Fist, Shui Wenxin will have the strength of the first place on the yellow list. A female Wangbang martial artist in her 30s said, Shui Wenxin has actually cultivated a Vajra Divine Fist, and if he uses this move, I'm afraid that even the number 1 Black Changji on the yellow list is not his opponent. Previously, a yellow list martial artist who was defeated by Zhang Ruokan said, Shui Wenxin was not much weaker than He Changji before he cultivated a spirit-level martial art. He Changji can only slightly outperform him by performing the impermanent swordsmanship of the spirit level. Now, Shui Wenxin has cultivated the Vajra Divine Fist, and his explosive power is even stronger, and it is no longer difficult to defeat He Changji. If Shui Wenxin can defeat the 9 princes, after this battle, his ranking on the yellow list will definitely be changed to the first position. A slightly young girl said, if the 9th prince defeats the water conscience, doesn't it mean that the 9th prince is the number 1 on the yellow list? An elder standing next to her said with a smile, Shui Wenxin has even displayed a spirit-level martial art, he must have the confidence to win, and it is impossible for the 9 princes to have a chance to win. The 9th prince does have some gaps with Shui Wenxin, it seems that Allah doesn't need to make a move. Lin Lucian's face showed a little disappointment. If Allah makes a move, Zhang Ruochen will not be as simple as defeat. Rather, die. For Zhang Ruochen, Lin Lucian's heart was an inexplicable hatred, especially when she saw Zhang Ruochen's scenery, the more hatred she felt in her heart, and she couldn't wait for Zhang Ruochen to die in front of her immediately. Even she doesn't understand, why does she hate Zhang Ruochen so much? Flame Kong. Shui Wenxin continued his momentum, and his fists came out together. The true qi burned, turning into 2 flame iron fists, and at the same time striking the huge force of 78 bulls. If it is on the battlefield, the punch of Shui Wenxin, with just the momentum, can scare off 100 sergeants. Zhang Ruochen not only did not retreat, but rushed forward, and the momentum on his body was like a brute elephant. The muscles and bones of the whole body are mobilized and transmitted to the arms. Elephants gallop to the ground. The results are clear. As soon as Shui Wenxin's fist touched Zhang Ruochen's palm, the whole person flew out upside down, falling more than 10 meters away in embarrassment, and almost fell off the battle platform. On the other hand, Zhang Ruochen was still standing calmly in the center of the battle platform, and he had slowly withdrawn his palm. It's all about crushing power. Shui Wenxin looked at his fists, then at Zhang Ruochen, sighed, and said, the future is terrifying. A ragged colt may make a good horse. From now on, His Royal Highness the 9th Prince will be the first on the yellow list. With the talent of His Royal Highness the 9th Prince, he will soon be able to break through the Xuanji realm, and it should not be rare to be the first on the yellow list. Hey! With a sigh, Shui Wenxin looked quite lonely, and walked off the battlefield, which can be regarded as taking the initiative to admit defeat. Only he knows how big the gap is with Zhang Ruochen. If it weren't for Zhang Ruochen taking the initiative to withdraw some of his strength at the last moment, he would have been seriously injured with that palm just now. Zhang Ruochen's strength is stronger than everyone imagined. As Shui Wenxin said, Zhang Ruochen was not very interested in being the first on the yellow list, and mainly came for the reward of 1 million silver coins. After all, the ranking on the yellow list is just a record of the warriors of Yunwu County, the pattern is too small, and the gold content is too low. If it is changed to the first place on the Zan list, the gold content of the list will be increased by a very high level, and almost all martial artists will desperately compete for the ranking of the Zan list. Of course, it can only be said that Zhang Ruochen's vision is too high. If other young martial artists can win the first place on the yellow list, they will immediately become the figure of the whole county and become the object of worship of countless young girls. In the midst of everyone's boiling discussions, the 15-year-old life-killing swordsman Allah finally stepped onto the stage and became Zhang Ruochen's 9th opponent. Those warriors who watched the battle looked forward to it even more. Must know that Ali's previous 10 battles were all one sword kills opponents, and knows how strong he is. Zhang Ruochen has never been defeated, and even Shui Wenxin has been defeated in his hands. Now that's interesting. Both of them are the masters of the younger generation of Kendo masters, and they are equally unfathomable, and I don't know which of them will win. It's really hard to say. After all, that life-killing swordsman has only used one move from beginning to end, maybe he is stronger than Shui Wenxin. At this moment, around the gambling table, there are many people betting. Zhang Ruochen, win. Bet on 1 to 3. Zhang Ruochen, dead. Bet 1 to 2. Draw. Bet on 1 to 4. Some people bet that Zhang Ruochen will win, some people bet that Allah will win, and of course, some people pressure them to tie. The Lord of the Nine Counties was full of confidence in Zhang Ruokan, and directly bet 10,000 silver coins, betting that Zhang Ruokan could win. Almost all of her savings were staked on the battle platform. Less than B11-12 greater than. Two young swordsmen, 10 paces apart, staring at each other. Zhang Ruokan said, "At your age, it is also remarkable that you can cultivate to the current height. However, your swordsmanship has a fatal flaw, and when you fight me, you have no chance of winning, but have a high chance of dying under my sword. I advise you, take the initiative to admit defeat." Ali's swordsmanship is indeed terrifying. Even Zhang Ruokan has to go all out. Give it your all, you will definitely not be either euthanasia or he died. Ali glanced slightly in the direction of Lin Lushan. A strange light appeared in his eyes, and he looked at Zhang Ruokan again. His eyes became more determined, and said, "Who is dead and who is alive, only after the battle will be known." Zhang Ruokan shook his head lightly and said, "You are cultivating the forbidden martial art, killing sword technique, not only killing others, but also killing yourself. Although you can kill the yellow list martial artist with a single sword, every time you swing a sword, it will cause great damage to your martial body. Forbidden martial arts refer to martial arts that can only be performed at a certain price. For example, killing swordsmanship. Every time you swing a sword, you are consuming your own life force. If Allah had used 10 killing swordsmanship in a row, he would have already consumed himself to death without the help of others at all. Of course, Ali's attainments in Kendo are indeed very high, far surpassing those of his peers. As long as he didn't face the yellow list martial artist, he didn't need to perform the killing sword technique at all, and he could kill the opponent with one sword. It can be called a forbidden martial art, and its power is naturally quite terrifying, and not ordinary people can successfully cultivate. Allah said calmly, "Since you know that I am practicing the killing sword technique, you should understand the power of the killing sword technique. In the same realm, no one can stop my sword. Not long ago, a martial artist in the middle of the Xuanji realm was also killed by me with a sword." Zhang Ruokan smiled lightly and said, "I said that you have no chance of winning when you fight me because the killing swordsmanship you have cultivated is not complete, and there are fatal flaws. What you got was just a remnant of the sword art of killing, right?" Allah looked calm and unfazed, and said, "You want to break my will in this way?" Zhang Ruokan shook his head lightly, said no more, and said, "Since you still don't admit defeat, let me see how strong your killing swordsmanship is, right?" In fact, Zhang Ruokan didn't hate Allah, but admired his swordsmanship, as if he could see a super swordsman rising. Whether in his previous life or in this life, Zhang Ruokan has never killed anyone, and he very much doesn't want the first person to die in his hands to be such a young man. That's why he persuaded a few more words. Ale. Zhang Ruokan also pulled out the soul. Two sword chi emanated from Zhang Ruokan and Ali's bodies at the same time, colliding in the air. Seeing Zhang Ruokan and Allah who were facing each other for life and death on the battle platform, Lin Lushan felt very excited. If Allah can kill Zhang Ruokan, it is naturally the best. If Zhang Ruokan killed Allah, she would also have an indescribable pleasure in her heart. A genius swordsman died at the hands of another genius swordsman for her. Shouldn't she be excited? It's an amazing feeling. Kill. Ali's lips read a sentence softly, turning into an afterimage, and rushing towards Zhang Ruokan without stopping. At the same time, as soon as his arm was raised, the iron sword in his hand stabbed out at lightning speed. Zhang Ruokan also followed the footsteps, and also turned into an afterimage and greeted him. Everyone held their breath and stared in the direction of the battle platform. On the battle platform, the two afterimages collided silently, and in just a moment, they staggered past each other. Immediately after that, they separated at a faster pace. Zhang Ruokan stood where Allah stood just now, and Allah stood where Zhang Ruokan stood just now. The two of them were silent. Didn't you move? Has the winner already been? That's fast. Shui Wenxin stood at the bottom of the battle platform, staring at Zhang Ruokan and Allah. With his cultivation, he could only barely see the traces of Zhang Ruokan and Ali's sword. However, if he wanted to catch the sword of any of them, he was only 40% sure. The other 60% are dead. Who wins? Lin Qishan stood up from her seat, with a pair of beautiful eyes, staring at the battle platform, revealing a look of expectation. Allah, who was originally standing straight, glanced at his chest, and a feeling of pain came, and then blood gushed out of his chest, staining most of his clothes red. Bang! He fell to the ground very unwillingly, holding his sword tightly with one hand and covering his chest with the other, his eyes still staring at Lin Lushan under the battle platform. In the end, he was defeated and failed to fulfill his promise to her. A blood mark appeared on Zhang Ruokan's neck, which was very shallow, and only scratched the skin. Why do you don't kill me? Allah lay on the ground, staring at Zhang Ruokan. In fact, Zhang Ruokan cannot be injured at all in that case. He would have to kill Allah with a single sword. However, he didn't do that, and after taking out the sword, he forcibly changed his moves, so that the sword shifted a few more points, so that the skin of his neck was cut by Ali's sword. Zhang Ruokan stared at him and said, "I never kill anyone." In fact, Zhang Ruokan still has the second half of the sentence that he didn't say, unless you meet someone who should be killed. I owe you my life, and I will definitely pay you back. Allah clenched his teeth, like a stubborn lone wolf, crawling off the battle platform alone, leaving a bloody trail on the battle platform. Zhang Ruokan frowned slightly, and glanced in the direction of Lin Chenu and Lin Lushan. The Lin family's heart was really ruthless and cold enough, and they didn't even send a servant to take the seriously injured Allah down, but watched him climb down from the battle platform alone. Of course, he didn't bother to care. After all, everyone has their own way. This was followed by the 10th fight. There are only 2 yellow list martial artists left in the yellow level martial arts palace who have not yet made a move, namely Sikongdi, who ranked 5th, and Yuntian, who ranked 21st. The person who makes the move is naturally a stronger place. Sikongdi is also a top powerhouse, and his combat power is comparable to that of a martial artist in the early stage of the Xuanji realm, but unfortunately even Shui Wenxin and Allah were defeated in the hands of Zhang Ruokan, so he was naturally even worse. Without any suspense, Zhang Ruokan easily defeated Sikongdi and became the first Huangji realm martial artist in Yunwu County to defeat 10 yellow list martial artists in a row. Zhang Ruokan not only received the new yellow list iron order, but also received a huge reward of 1 million silver coins. New yellow list iron order, with the words, Yunwu Zhengguo, the first on the yellow list, Ruokan, printed on it, is also a kind of glory for Zhang Ruokan. As for the huge reward of 1 million silver coins, it was exchanged for 1,000 spirit crystals. After all, 1 million silver coins were too heavy to fit a large cart, and it was still more convenient to carry the spirit crystals. Zhang Ruokan deposited 800,000 silver coins on the 3-star noble card of Wuxi Chenjuang, and only carried 200 spirit crystals on his body, preparing to go to Qingshan Pavilion to buy some pills to prepare for the impact on the Xuanji realm. 9th sister, you seem to have gained a lot. Zhang Ruokan saw that the Lord of the 9 counties was counting the spirit crystals, and walked over. It's just that I won 20 spirit crystals, and I can't compare with you at all, 9th brother. The 9 county lord squinted his eyes, looking very excited. She bet on Zhang Ruokan to win, but she still won the bet. After all, 20 spirit crystals is also a huge amount of money for a county lord. Zhang Ruokan said, I'm about to go to Qingshan Pavilion to buy pills, do you want to go together? Yes. I just made a fortune, and I can buy a 3 halal chi pill to attack the great pole of the yellow extreme realm. The 9 county lord said happily. Zhang Ruokan said, since I won 1 million silver coins, it is natural that I am in for a treat. 9th sister, what kind of elixir do you fancy? Just tell me directly. 9th brother, you are really good. The lord of the 9 counties flew over again, like a milk swallow, throwing himself into his arms, and kissed Zhang Ruokan's face. Boom! There was a thunderclap in the sky, followed by a fierce wind and a torrential downpour. When Zhang Ruokan and the 9 county lords walked out of the yellow level martial arts palace, it was raining heavily. The streets are full of standing water. The fallen leaves swirled in the wind, then fell into the murky water, and were crushed into mud and dust by a passing car. Hit. Breaking his legs for me. I'm really angry, Miss Ben. It's so useless, even a Zhang Ruokan can't win. Lin Lushan stood in the rain and said coldly. A maid, holding an oil paper umbrella, propped it up on top of Lin Qishan's head to shield her from the wind and rain. The 4 strong guards of the Lin family, after receiving Lin Lushan's instructions, had a fierce smile on their faces, and kept swinging the iron rod down and slashing it at Ali's body. Bang bang. Li crouched in the rain, his legs were broken, his head was broken, and his whole body beaten to a bloody blur. What a shitty swordsman, just a slave. If it hadn't been for the young lady picking you up, you would have starved to death in the snow. Aren't you amazing? What about your sword? You're going to kill me. Ha ha. Hit. Kill this useless thing. With all their might, the 4 guards swung their iron rods and let out an insolent laugh. Lin Qishan stood aside, tall and moving, with a beautiful face, staring indifferently at Ali lying in the rain, with a somewhat disdainful look. If it weren't for your little cultivation talent, how could Miss Ben take in a slave? You have been stabbed by Zhang Ruokan. Now that your meridians have been broken, what is the use? Beat me to death. Beat this useless thing to death. Ali lay in the muddy water, opened a pair of eyes, stared at Lin Yushan who was standing not far away, and then closed his eyes. Blood flowed from his body, staining the rain within 3 meters of him red. Han Qinglo didn't say anything, the soft sword in her hand trembled straight, and she shot directly, and the sword body slapped in the rain curtain. The cold air, coming out of the sword body, condensed 5 drops of rain into ice beads, like 5 hidden weapons, flying towards Zhang Ruokan and the 9 county lords. 4 ice beads hit Zhang Ruokan, and 1 ice bead flew towards the 9 county lords. Zhang Ruokan took a step across, stood in front of the 9 county lords, transported the true qi to the palm of his hand, and slapped it out, 3 meters away, shattering all 5 ice beads. Zhang. Suddenly, a sword sound sounded in Zhang Ruokan's ears. Han Qinglo, who was originally standing in the middle of the street, disappeared, and appeared behind Zhang Ruokan like a ghost, stabbing out with a sword. The tip of the sword stabbed at the back of Zhang Ruokan's neck. Zhang Ruokan didn't turn around, immediately raised his arm and clamped the tip of the sword with 2 fingers. Do you think I'm Lu Chengfeng? Han Qinglo sneered. Woohoo! Cyan's soft sword was like a spirit snake, turning rapidly, wrapping around Zhang Ruokan's. If the arm is wrapped around the soft sword, Han Qinglo only needs to suddenly withdraw the sword, and Zhang Ruokan's entire hand will definitely be abolished. He let go of the tip of the sword, and pointed out his 2 fingers at the same time, stabbing through the center of the soft sword that was winding and circling like a spirit snake, and pointed at Han Qingluo's wrist. True qi spat out from his fingertips, stabbing a deep bloody wound at Han Qingluo's. Han Qingluo's arm holding the sword suddenly lost its strength, and with a clang, the cyan soft sword fell to the ground. How could Han Qingluo have expected that Zhang Ruokan was not only advanced in cultivation, but also so rich in combat experience? The assassination failed. Han Qingluo touched her toes on the ground, and immediately leapt up, landed on top of an ancient building next to the street, and fled towards the rain. Want to escape? Zhang Ruokan carried the soul-flashing sword, and also flew to the ancient building, stepped on the glazed tiles, and quickly chased after it. Article 36. The meridians were running at the same time, making Zhang Ruokan's speed a few points faster than that of Han Qingluo. He is only the cultivation of the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, how can his speed be so fast? Han Qingluo saw Zhang Ruokan who was chasing closer and closer, and she was secretly anxious in her heart, and found 9 slender golden needles from her hair. True qi gushed out from his body, wrapped 9 golden needles, and hit Zhang Ruokan who was chasing behind. Phew! You must know that in the rainy night, the warrior's vision is already very blurred, and it is impossible to see the 9 golden needles flying at high speed. Zhang Ruokan is different, he has opened up his eyes, and his eyesight is very amazing even in a rainy night. Ding ding. With a swing of the sword, all 9 golden needles were thrown away. Zhang Ruokan continued to catch up. This is a very strange scene. A killer of the Zan extreme realm is constantly running away, but a martial artist of the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm is chasing and killing behind. Although the 9 princes are only cultivators of the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, their combat power is even more terrifying than that of the martial artists in the middle of the Zan extreme realm. I must flee and tell the queen the news. Han Qingluo's heart thought, so the blood in the body boiled. Her speed increased by 50%, and she instantly distanced herself from Zhang Ruokan. Blood boiling. Sure enough, it is the cultivation of the Xuanji realm, and it seems that he has just entered the early stage of the Xuanji realm. The martial artists of the yellow extreme realm mainly cultivate the meridians. Xuanji realm martial artists. The main cultivation is blood qi. The sign of the early stage of the Zanji realm is the boiling of blood qi. The blood qi in the body, like boiling water, flows rapidly in the blood, allowing the warrior to burst out with more powerful power. Some of the top masters among the yellow list martial artists may be able to defeat the early stage martial artists of the Xuanji realm against the sky. However, it was very difficult to kill the martial artists in the early stage of the Xuanji realm. The martial artists in the early stage of the Xuanji realm, once they activated the blood qi in their bodies and burst out with speed, they were not at all able to catch up with the yellow list martial artists. Even if he is a genius like Zhang Ruokan, at this moment, he is a step slower than Han Qingluo's speed. Zhang Ruokan stopped, stood on the edge of a towering pavilion, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and took out a handful of silver coins from the inner space of the space-time crystal. The 36 meridians in Zhang Ruokan's body all started to operate, injecting true qi into the silver coin, and suddenly scattering it. Wow! Silver coin was like a silver rain, flying towards the cold green radish that flew in front. Bang bang! 2 silver coins hit Han Qingluo's back, breaking through his clothes and inlaying into the flesh and blood, leaving 2 blood holes on Han Qingluo's back. Qingluo spat out a mouthful of blood and fell from midair, falling heavily on the street. Face down, back up, motionless, as if dead. Zhang Ruokan also flew down and walked towards her cautiously. Who the hell is going to kill me? Zhang Ruokan turned Han Qingluo's body so that her face was up, wanting to remove her veil and see her true face. Not good. Just when Zhang Ruokan just stretched out his hand, Han Qingluo's eyes suddenly opened, and he used his hand as a knife to slash towards Zhang Ruokan's neck. Zhang Ruokan seemed to have expected it, and he also used his hand as a knife and slashed out. The bones of Han Qingluo's arm were broken, and a miserable scream came out of her mouth. 9 princes, if you don't die today, someone will always come and kill you. Zhang Ruokan said in a deep voice, who ordered you to kill me? Han Qingluo, who was lying on the ground, trembled suddenly, and then stopped moving. Woo! The next moment, before Zhang Ruokan could lift her veil, her body melted into a cloud of black poisonous blood, and even the clothes on her body were corroded, leaving nothing behind. The Lord of the 9 Counties chased after him from behind and asked, where is the female assassin? Zhang Ruokan pointed to the black ball of poisonous blood on the ground and said, she has a poison pill hidden in her mouth, and once the mission fails, she will bite the poison pill and destroy the corpse. Who the hell could train such a faithful killer? The 9 Counties Lord was a little stunned, and handed the soft sword dropped by the female assassin before to Zhang Ruokan and said, this is the soft sword she used. Oh. Zhang Ruokan took the soft sword and injected his true qi into the sword body, and the sword body immediately exuded a faint cold aura. A third-order true martial weapon. There are 9 inscriptions in the sword body. Zhang Ruokan carefully observed the soft sword again, shook his head gently, and did not find any clues on the soft sword. If you want to know the answer, you don't have to do it. Zhang Ruokan said. The Lord of the 9 Counties was a little puzzled, and said, the female assassin is dead, and all the clues are broken, can you still find out the mastermind behind the scenes? Zhang Ruokan smiled. Now, only we know that the female assassin is dead, but the mastermind behind the scenes doesn't know. If you want to know who is behind the scenes, you only need to lure the snake out of the hole. Ninth sister, this time, I have to cooperate with me to act in a play. Although the Lord of the Nine Counties didn't understand what Jong Ruokan meant, he still planned to cooperate with Jong Ruokan. An hour later, in the queen's bedroom, a maid wearing palace clothes knelt on the ground and said in a little panic, Queen Niangyang, the big thing is not good, Han Qingluo's assassination failed. The queen sat down on the chair steadily, looking unfazed, and said, with her cultivation, she actually failed to assassinate. Boom. This nine princes seems to be quite difficult to deal with. The maid continued, it is said that the ninth prince was also seriously injured and unconscious. Moreover, before he passed out, he saw Han Qingluo's true face. What? The queen's face changed slightly, and she said, where's Han Qingluo? The maid said, according to the Lord of the Nine Counties, Han Maiden was arrested by General Luo Tong, one of the 10 great generals of the Forbidden Army, and has been taken to the heavenly prison. The king already knew about this, and the Thunder was furious, and ordered a thorough investigation of the mastermind behind it. The eldest disciple of the queen's mother, Zhao Lin, who was already in her 30s, stood behind the queen and said, Niangyang, Luo Tong is a rough person, he has never seen Qingluo, even if he catches Qingluo, he can't recognize Qingluo's identity. However, once the king rushed over, he recognized Qingluo's identity. The consequences are unimaginable. The queen's face sank, and she said, Zhao Lin, you have been with the queen for 30 years. Among the 4 disciples in the future, your cultivation is the highest, and you have reached the early stage of the Earth Extreme Realm. Zhao Lin said, what does Niangyang mean? The queen said, the heavenly prison is very dangerous, and only your cultivation can break into it. This queen wants you to rescue Qingluo at all costs, before the king sees Qingluo. If you can't save her, kill her, preferably to destroy her body. Disciple understands. Zhao Lin paused slightly, and then said, the ninth prince has seen Qingluo's true face, and he must know that she is the maid by Niangyang's side. If you wait for him to wake up. Queen. Niangyang stood up, snorted coldly, and said, the queen will send your 2 junior sisters to get rid of him, so that he will never wake up. If you go against this post, you won't end well. Then the disciple will rest assured. Zhao Lin bowed to the queen, immediately changed into night clothes, left the palace, and rushed towards the prison. Subsequently, the queen sent her second disciple Yao Su and third disciple Zhao Wushi out to kill the ninth prince before he woke up. Yao Su's cultivation has reached the great perfection of the Xuanji realm. Zhao Wushi's cultivation has reached the extreme position in the Xuanji realm. The 4 disciples are the 4 murderous swords of the queen's mother. Except for Han Qingluo, who only received Han Qingluo later, the other 3 disciples, all of whom have followed the queen for more than 20 years, are all top masters. As long as it was the queen's mother's enemies, almost all of them had already been killed by them. The queen is very confident in their strength. The queen waited in the palace for 3 hours, and did not wait for them to come back to restore their lives, when she finally felt that something was wrong, and a sense of foreboding arose in her heart. It wasn't until early in the morning that the news finally came back. The 3 major disciples were all ambushed and besieged by a large number of forbidden troops. In order not to expose the queen mother, they all bit the poison pill and died. Overnight, all the 4 disciples died. Hearing the news, the queen almost fell out of her seat, closed her eyes, and said in a trembling voice, immediately repair the book to Kier and order him to return to the palace. Queen Niangyang, you just think too highly of the ninth prince, that's why you mess up otherwise. Zhao Lin, Yao Su, Zhao Shawu, Han Qingluo, the 4 of them would not all have been plotted by the 9 princes. Lin Chunu sat down and said. On the same day, Lin Chunu and Lin Lucian were edicted into the palace by the queen's mother to discuss countermeasures. Lin Chunu is the slave of the 7th prince, and Lin Lucian is the fiancé of the 7th prince. Now, the entire Lin family has been tied to the same chariot as the queen mother. One is prosperous, and one is down. After all, the queen mother was also a martial arts powerhouse, and gradually recovered from the initial panic, snorted coldly, and said, you said that the queen looked down on the 9 princes. You're wrong. Ben Hu just underestimated him, so he was calculated, resulting in the death of all the 4 disciples. At what age is he? He's already so powerful. If he is allowed to grow up, then what's the point? Lin Chunyu said, in fact, if you want to kill the 9th prince, you don't need the master to rush back in person, and we don't even need to do it personally. Why don't you go to the black market and hire a killer? Makes sense. The queen's eyes lit up, and she said, this matter is up to you. If this matter is done, the benefits of your Lin family will be indispensable in the future. This kind of trivial matter, Niang shouldn't have to work hard, and leave it to us as slaves to do, so as to ensure that we can take off the head of the 9th prince in the shortest possible time. Lin Chunyu smiled flatteringly. Lin Chunyu and Lin Lucian knelt in front of the queen's mother, bowed respectfully, and then left the queen's bedroom. The Shui family, the queen mother's mother, is a 7th-rate family in itself, and there is a strong man in the heavenly extreme realm in the family. His Royal Highness the 7th Prince is the pride of the earth-shattering sky. In the eyes of the Lin brothers and sisters, if they can do things for the Queen Mother and the 7th Prince, they will definitely be able to soar in the future. The Lin family can also follow and become a pivotal family in Yunwu County. The 9 counties' lord sighed and said, it's a pity, the one who went to rob the prison and the other 2 who went to kill you all committed suicide by poisoning, and even the corpses were corroded by toxins, so they couldn't identify them at all. The reason why the 3 disciples of the Queen Mother died, naturally, fell for Zhang Ruokan's scheme. Those 3, all dead, committed suicide by poisoning. The state of death is exactly the same as that of Han Qingluo. It is said that the warrior who went to rob the prison cultivated to reach the extreme realm of the earth and killed more than 200 forbidden soldiers in a row. If it wasn't for General Luo Tong and General Shaoling, maybe she would have escaped. Unfortunately, she is also dead, and there is no way to find out the mastermind behind her. The main road of the 9 counties. Zhang Ruokan showed a thoughtful expression and said with a smile, being able to mobilize a powerhouse in the extreme realm, that mastermind will probably be a rather terrifying existence. Zhang Ruokan has always suspected that the person who wants to kill him is in the palace. Therefore, at noon today, he went to check the personnel transfers in the palace in the past 2 days. Unexpectedly, he really found the clue. Just last night, the 4 personal maids of the Queen Mother, because they angered the Queen Mother, were all given to death by the Queen Mother. How could it be such a coincidence? Therefore, Zhang Ruokan speculated that the 4 maids were not given to death by the Queen Mother at all. They should be the 4 female assassins who committed suicide by poisoning last night. The Queen just found a suitable reason to make them all disappear. Of course, these are just Zhang Ruokan's speculations, and there is no conclusive evidence, and there is no way to prove that those female assassins were sent by the Queen's mother. The Queen is in a high position, and there is a 7th-rate family Shui family behind her. With Zhang Ruokan's current strength, if he is not completely sure, starting a war against her is simply hitting a stone with an egg. The Queen's power is too huge. Even the king of Yunwu County has to give her 3 points, and now, I have to endure it. If you can't bear it, you're killing yourself. Zhang Ruokan is completely sure that the Queen is the mastermind behind it, but now I can't help her. In the final analysis, it is still too weak in one's own cultivation. Zhang Ruokan frowned deeply and thought secretly, if the Queen intends to kill me, even if she stays in the palace, it will not be safe. But leaving the palace will only make it more dangerous. While Zhang Ruokan was pondering, the 9 counties' lord said, 9th brother, the deadly swordsman who was sent back yesterday has woken up. Should we go and take a look at him? Really? Then let's go see him. Zhang Ruokan said with a smile. Zhang Ruokan didn't tell the 9 county lord about her guess. The more she knew, the less it would be a good thing for her. At this moment, Allah was lying on the bed, wrapped in white gauze, like a mummy. Although he had woken up, his eyes were empty, indistinguishable from a dead man. His Royal Highness the 9th Prince, since he woke up, he didn't move, not even blinking his eyes. He's not just going to be back, is he? The maid Yunar bowed to Zhang Ruokan and said quietly. Zhang Ruokan walked to the side of the bed, glanced at Allah, shook his head gently, and said, "People are alive, but their hearts are dead." For a martial artist, mental injuries are more difficult to recover from than physical injuries. Gave him a patch on his muscles, right? When his feet and hands are healed, send him away. After saying this, Zhang Ruokan walked out. Zhang Ruokan no longer thinks about the queen's mother, and is ready to cultivate with all his might, and strive to reach the Xuanji realm as soon as possible. As long as he reaches the Xuanji realm, Zhang Ruokan can cultivate the space realm and time imprint, and when the time comes, his combat power will definitely grow by leaps and bounds and become even stronger. At least, when the queen sends someone to kill him again, he will have the power to protect himself. The martial artists of the Xuanji realm can be regarded as having initially stepped into the ranks of the strong. Only the martial artists of the Earth Extreme realm can be regarded as the real top masters, who can be called the masters of martial arts. As for the martial artists of the Heavenly Extreme realm, each of them is a martial arts myth, and the divine dragon sees the head but does not see the end, representing the top power of the Yunwu County Kingdom. As long as the Heavenly Extreme realm martial artist is willing, he can destroy the entire Lin family overnight. As long as he has a legitimate reason, the official forces of Yunwu County will not hold him accountable. The Heavenly Extreme realm martial artists, to a certain extent, have surpassed the legal system. Of course, those Heavenly Extreme realm martial artists who kill innocents indiscriminately and are thirsty for murder will still be arrested and rewarded by the official forces, and become wanted criminals. Except for some secluded Heavenly Extreme realm martial artists, in Yunwu County, there are only 14 famous Heavenly Extreme realm martial artists. Each of them is a great big man, dominating one side, and a stomp of his feet can make Yunwu Zhongguo tremble. On the same day, Zhang Ruokan, under the protection of a team of guards, went to Wuxi and bought another batch of pills. In the palace, there is a royal martial arts training ground, which is built under Jun Mountain. Before the sky dawned, the sound of popping sounded in the martial arts training ground, and all the princes and county lords were practicing martial arts in the martial arts field. King Yunwu has a total of 9 sons and 13 daughters, and as long as he opens the Shenwu seal, he will definitely go to the martial arts training ground to practice every morning. It's a daily compu. Zhang Ruokan had never been to the martial arts training ground before, but today he was dragged to the martial arts training ground by the Lord of the 9 counties, and asked him to accompany her to practice together. It is worthy of the royal family's martial arts training ground, which is 7 or 8 times larger than the Lin family's martial arts training ground, and is all paved with a 1-meter thick white stone slab. In the martial arts, the prince and the county lord can compete with each other, and they can also let the guards who are quite cultivated to practice together. Moreover, every day, there will be a general of the Earth Extreme realm patrolling the martial arts field, and at the same time instructing the princes and county lords to cultivate. Little County Lord, the most important thing in cultivating the wind-chasing sword technique is to have a steady pace and smooth sword technique. Raise your left hand a little higher, like me, and your sword is like a swift wind, and swift as lightning. The general of the extreme realm was instructing the little county lord to practice a human-level inferior swordsmanship, and while instructing, he also demonstrated to her. The little county lord, only 6 years old, has a delicate and lovely face, holds a small sword in his hand, and has already learned the wind-chasing sword well. Seeing the 9 county lord and Zhang Ruokan, the little county lord's eyes suddenly lit up, and he ran towards Zhang Ruokan with his sword. His voice was a little immature, and said, "You are the 9th brother. Of course. Number 1 in the year-end assessment, number 1 on the yellow list, and a martial arts wizard." Master said that Brother Ju's attainments in the way of the sword have reached the high-level realm of the sword walking with his heart, and even he is not as good as Brother Ju, so I must take Brother Ju as an example and cultivate well. Brother Ju, can you teach me to practice swords? Teach me how to cultivate to the point where the sword can follow my heart. Although the little county lord is young, he speaks clearly and clearly, not like a child at all. Zhang Ruokan smiled, felt that the little county lord was very cute, and said, "Who is your master?" The little county lord pointed to the general in battle armor not far away, and said, "My master is one of the 10 masters of the Forbidden Army, General Haas." When Zhang Ruokan looked at General Haas, Haas had already walked over, bowed to Zhang Ruokan slightly, and said, "The last general, Hose, meet His Royal Highness the Ninth Prince." Haas is a powerhouse in the Extreme Realm, and has a very high status in the Forbidden Army. He was able to bow down to Zhang Ruokan, which showed that he attached great importance to Zhang Ruokan and did not dare to slack off. The other princes and county lords must treat him as a master, and they can't get such treatment at all. He is worthy of being a powerhouse in the Extreme Realm, and the momentum on his body is like a mountain and the sea, giving people a feeling of unattainable and unfathomable. Zhang Ruokan nodded lightly. Because of Zhang Ruokan's arrival, the entire martial arts training ground became very lively, and all the princes and county lords stopped cultivating and came over curiously. The fifth prince said with a bit of yin and yang weirdness, "It is said that your cultivation has reached the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme Realm, and you have won 10 Yellow List martial artists in a row, and you are the first person in the Yellow List of Yunwu County. Fifth brother is curious, what level of strength have you reached?" "I don't know, can the ninth brother open our eyes?" The sixth prince sneered and said, "It is said that even the third water conscience of the Yellow List was defeated in the hands of the ninth brother. Now, everyone says that the ninth brother has the courage to be invincible. I don't know who will be stronger with the strength of the ninth brother, compared to the martial artists of the Xuanji realm." The little county lord and the other county lords all showed expectant looks. Recently, they had heard a lot of legends about the 9 princes, and they all wanted to know if the 9 princes were really as powerful as the legends. "Ninth brother, let the third brother come to learn your tricks, and by the way, let the brothers and sisters see your supreme demeanor." The third prince walked out of the crowd with a faint smile on his face. The third prince, who is 28 years old this year, was wearing a silver robe with gold trim, carrying his hands behind his back, and staring at Zhang Ruokan, who was standing opposite with a smile. Among the 9 sons and 13 county lords of Yunwu County, the 7th prince has the highest talent, followed by the 2nd prince, the 4th prince, the 5th county lord, and the 9th county lord. The 7th prince, who was less than 20 years old, was already a disciple of the inner mansion of the Yuntai sect. The 2nd prince and the 5 county lords all worship the Yuntai sect. Among them, the slightly older 2nd prince is also already a disciple of the inner mansion of the Yuntai sect, and the 5 county lords are the outer disciples of the Yuntai sect. The 4th prince entered the Wuxi School Palace last year and became a disciple of the outer palace of the Wuxi School Palace. The 3rd prince, who was standing opposite Zhang Ruokan, had gone to participate in the foreign affairs examination of the Yuntai sect 3 times, without exception, each time he ended in failure. Hearing that everyone said that the 9th prince was a martial arts wizard and could be admitted to the Yuntai sect, the 3rd prince was naturally very unconvinced, so he planned to defeat Zhang Ruokan with his own hands to prove his strength. The 9 counties lord said with some displeasure, "Third brother, your martial arts cultivation has reached the middle stage of the Xuanji realm, and the 9th brother has only reached the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme realm. Even if you defeat the 9th brother, what can you do?" The 3rd prince snorted coldly, "Ninth sister, what do you mean by this?" Prince Ben was afraid that the 9th brother would be complacent after becoming the first on the yellow list, so he planned to compete with him in martial arts. Besides, even if the 9th brother is defeated in the hands of this prince, there is nothing to be ashamed of after all. Prince Ben is his brother, and losing to his brother is also an experience for him. Bang! Outside the martial arts training ground, a series of applause rang out. "Your Royal Highness the 3rd prince, that's a good point." Lin Chanu and Lin Lucian came from a distance and entered the martial arts training ground. "Meet the princes and lords." Lin Chanu bowed down and bowed to the princes and county lords in the martial arts, but there was no respectful look on his face, but a somewhat mocking smile. The 9 counties lord frowned slightly, and said, "Lin Chanu, Lin Lucian, this is the royal family's martial arts training ground, how can you come here?" Lin Chanu took out a waist card and said, "On the orders of the Queen's mother, in the future, Lu Shan and I can also go to the royal family martial arts training ground to practice martial arts, and by the way, we can also have a discussion with the princes and His Royal Highnesses the County Lord." Then, Lin Chanu put away the waist card, showed a smile, and said, "I heard the words of His Royal Highness the Third Prince just now, and I think it makes sense. Cousin, are you afraid that you will lose, if you don't dare to fight with His Royal Highness the Third Prince? Or do you simply look down on His Royal Highness the Third Prince?" Hearing Lin Chanu's words, the third prince's face immediately became a little cold, and he said, "Ninth brother, do you dare not fight this prince? Or do you really look down on me, the third brother?" Zhang Ruokan looked at the people around him and said, "Since everything is said about this, then I will discuss it with the third brother." The nine-county lord shook his head at Zhang Ruokan and said, "Ninth brother, don't be impulsive. The third brother has repeatedly failed to be admitted to the Yuntai sect, so he wants to defeat you to find a sense of accomplishment." Zhang Ruokan smiled. "Ninth sister, you don't have to worry, me be measured." A few days of cultivation, Zhang Ruokan's cultivation has improved again, and the strongest. Even if the third prince is in the middle of the Xuanji realm, Zhang Ruokan is not without a chance to defeat him. Seeing that Zhang Ruokan agreed, the corners of Lin Chanu's mouth showed a smile of successful conspiracy. He also felt that the ninth prince was too sharp, and it was not fun to use the prince's hand to frustrate his sharpness. A smile appeared on the third prince's face, and he said, "Ninth brother, you have to be careful. Don't lose the first move in my hands. When the time comes, the face of the first on the yellow list will be lost." Bull Fist. What the third prince displayed was a human-level mid-grade military martial art, a brute bull battle fist. The bull battle fist is divided into 10 layers. Cultivating to the first layer, you can hit the power of a brute bull. Cultivating to the second level, you can hit the power of 4 brute bulls. Cultivating to the third layer, you can fight the power of 9 brute bulls. And so on. If you cultivate to the 10th layer, you can fight the power of 100 brute bulls. In the army, many sergeants cultivated the brute bull battle fist, but no one had ever been able to cultivate to the 10th layer before the Xuanji realm. The third prince has only cultivated to the 9th layer until now, and he can burst out with the power of 81 oxen. Although Zhang Ruokan is only the realm of the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, his strength is far beyond that of a martial artist in the same realm. Even if he does not use the dragon elephant Prajnapam, he can burst out with the power of 81 oxes. Zhang Ruokan slapped a palm, colliding with the brute bull battle fist played by the third. Bang! One hit, evenly divided. Zhang Ruokan flicked his sleeves and said, "This is the strength of a martial artist in the middle of the Xuanji realm. It's just getting started." The Shenwu mark on the center of the third prince's eyebrows lit up, and true qi was injected into the blood. A pale red blood qi escaped from his body, like a rainbow, surrounding the body of the third prince. Blood is like a rainbow. Only a martial artist in the middle stage of the Xuanji realm can achieve blood like a rainbow, forming a red rainbow ring behind him. The darker the color of the rainbow ring, the stronger the cultivation of the warrior. The rainbow ring inspired by the third prince was very faint, indicating that he had just reached the middle stage of the Xuanji realm. The sign of the early stage of the Xuanji realm is the boiling of blood qi. The sign of the middle stage of the Xuanji realm is that the blood is like a rainbow. Stimulating the power of blood qi, the strength of the third prince skyrocketed by a large amount, and it unexpectedly burst out with the power of 10 layers of the brute bull battle fist, and each punch was the power of 100 bulls. With just one punch, the third prince shook Zhang Ruokan out. This is the strength of the martial arts wizard who is the number 1 on the yellow list. That's it. The third prince let out a wild laugh, kicked his legs, like a wild bull, and attacked Zhang Ruokan again, hitting 18 punches in a row. Every time Zhang Ruokan received a punch from him, he would take a step back. The martial artists in the middle of the Xuanji realm are really not to be underestimated. Moreover, among the martial artists in the middle stage of the Xuanji realm, the third prince should be considered a relatively weak one. Zhang Ruokan's heart pondered. Every time Zhang Ruokan received a punch from the third prince, he would transmit part of the fist power to the ground through the bones and meridians of his body. Therefore, even if the third prince could burst out with the power of 100 bulls, he would not be able to hurt Zhang Ruokan at all. Fortunately, it was Zhang Ruokan. If he was replaced by any other martial artist of the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme Realm, the third prince would only need one punch to kill him. Although the third prince is just a straw bag, his cultivation is still very strong, and Zhang Ruokan seems to be defeated. Lin Qishan said. Lin Chanu shook his head, holding a completely different opinion, and said, Zhang Ruokan's cultivation is much stronger than I imagined, and the third prince can't help him. How so? Zhang Ruokan was obviously beaten so much that he could only retreat, and he didn't even have the strength to fight back. Lin Qishan was a little puzzled. Lin Chanu stretched out an index finger, pointed to the ground, and said, You carefully look at the ground that Zhang Ruokan has stepped on. Lin Lushan looked over and saw that every time Zhang Ruokan stepped out, the stone slab on the ground would sink slightly, forming a shallow footprint. If you don't look closely, you won't be able to spot it. He unloaded all the power of the three princes into the ground. Lin Qishan was slightly startled and said, How did he do it? Lin Chanu said, His control over his power has reached the point of being exquisite. Even if the third prince is stronger than him, he can't hurt him at all. That's wonderful. If it weren't for the third prince's temptation for us, we wouldn't know his true strength. Zhang Ruokan. If you're going to go to the black market and hire a killer, it seems that you need to double the reward of silver coins to be foolproof. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Lin Chanu's mouth. Present, in addition to Lin Chanu, only General Huo Si, who had cultivated to reach the extreme realm, saw Zhang Ruokan's true strength, and couldn't help but nodded, secretly saying in his heart, worthy of being a martial arts wizard and a hero. The Nine-County Lord was very worried about Zhang Ruokan, and said, Ninth brother, your cultivation is not as good as the third brother, don't fight with him brute force. Catch the sword. The sword in the hand of the Nine Counties Lord threw it at Zhang Ruokan. Zhang Ruokan originally wanted to continue to fight with the third prince in order to temper his palm. Since the Nine Counties Lord threw the sword over, he naturally caught the sword and said, Since this is the case, let's end it early. Zhang Ruokan held the hilt of the sword in his hand and dragged out a brilliant sword light, drawing a beautiful arc in the air. With just one sword, the three princes were subdued. The third prince's fist stopped in midair, and he didn't dare to move up and down his body, for fear that if he moved a little, the blade of the sword would cut his neck. In the martial arts field, everyone was stunned and shocked. Obviously, it was the third prince who had always had the upper hand and beat the ninth prince back and forth. Why did he suddenly lose all at once? Brother Zhu, I must have always let the third brother go, otherwise, with the strength of the ninth brother, the third brother would have been defeated long ago. The little county lord held a pair of small hands behind his back, and his eyes were round, looking adoring. The other princes and county lords also suddenly came to their senses. It turned out that it was not that the ninth prince could not win against the third prince, but that the ninth prince had always let the third prince. The ninth prince is really worthy of being a martial arts wizard. The great perfection of the Yellow Extreme Realm can defeat the martial artists in the middle of the Xuanji realm. If he breaks through to the Xuanji realm, how powerful would it be? It is said that the extreme realm power of the Yellow Extreme Realm is 100 bulls, and I wonder if His Royal Highness the Ninth Prince has reached that legendary extreme realm power. Even if it doesn't, it's probably not that far. Hearing everyone's discussions, the third prince was even more ashamed. Originally, he wanted to defeat the 9 princes and find a sense of accomplishment. Unexpectedly, he was subdued by a sword. This time, his face was even more disgraced. I'm not convinced. Ninth brother, let's fight again. The third prince felt that he was negligent just now, so he would be defeated by Zhang Ruokan's sword. No need to compare. Is it really that important who wins and who loses? After Zhang Ruokan said this, only the third prince, who was stunned, walked towards the 9 counties and returned the sword to her. Ninth brother, why didn't you tell me in advance that you could win the third brother? I've been worried for so long. The Nine-County Lord glanced at Zhang Ruokan and said with some resentment, "Sure. There is no such thing as a surefire battle in the world." Zhang Ruokan smiled and shook his head. Lin Qishan was very unhappy when she saw Zhang Ruokan and the Nine-County Lord's intimacy. Holding the Xingwei ancient sword, she walked over, and Shi Shiren said, "Nine-County Lord, Lu Shan heard that you have reached the realm of the sword walking with your heart, and for a while, she also wants to learn sword skills with the Nine-County Lord. I don't know what the Nine Counties have in mind." The Nine Counties Lord glanced at Lin Lushan, and with a sense of war, he said, "Okay. This county lord has long wanted to fight with you again, and since we have come to the royal martial arts field, then we will compare with each other now." The lord of the Nine Counties and Lin Lushan are called the Shuangmei of Wangchang, but at the end of the year, the lord of the Nine Counties was defeated by Lin Lushan's sword, and he was naturally very unconvinced, and he always wanted to get back face. Clear water and listening to the sea. The Nine-County Lord took the initiative to attack the past, and as soon as he took out his sword, a large sword wave was rolled up, wave after wave, and swept towards Lin Yushan. The sword waves actually made the sound of the sea hitting the shore, the rocks pierced the air, and the waves crashed on the shore, just like real waves. After the Nine Counties Lord reached the initial realm of the sword walking with his heart, his swordsmanship also reached another height, and the subtlety of her swordsmanship had at least doubled compared to the assessment at the end of the year. Lushan just stood in place, motionless, her red lips crystal clear, revealing a contemptuous "Phew." She stabbed out with a sword, and a powerful cold ice sword aura emanated from the blade, breaking all the sword techniques cast by the Nine County Lords. Lin Qishan snorted lightly, and a sword slapped on the wrist of the Nine County Lord. There was an extra blood mark on the wrist of the Nine County Lord, the 5 fingers lost their strength, and the sword in his hand was thrown out, and it fell to the ground with a clang. Nine County Lord's wrist left a blood-colored mark, and he took more than 10 steps back, spread throughout his body, clenched his teeth, and said with some annoyance, "You." Lin Lushan lightly withdrew the starlight sword, appearing elegant and calm. He sighed. "Isn't the Lord of the Nine Counties called the proud daughter of the sky? Why can't she even hold the sword steadily? The gap between us is really getting bigger and bigger. Hey, Lin Lushan, do you want to humiliate the county lord?" The Nine County Lord's face turned red, and he was a little embarrassed. Originally, she was the proud daughter of the sky on the same level as Lin Lushan, but she was defeated by the other party's sword, and naturally suffered a big blow. "Don't dare." Lu Shan didn't dare to humiliate His Royal Highness the County Lord, but I didn't expect His Royal Highness the County Lord's swordsmanship to be so bad. Lin Lushan said with a smile. Zhang Ruokan picked up the sword that fell to the ground, walked to the side of the Nine County Lord, and said, "Lin Qishan, your cultivation has reached the great pole of the Yellow Extreme Realm, one realm higher than the Ninth Sister, even if you defeat the Ninth Sister. Does that mean you're better than her? You're so naive." Hearing this, Lin Lushan's eyes sank, and she said, "You dare to call me naive? Everyone can see clearly. Miss Ben defeated the Nine County Lord with one sword, and with the strength of the Nine County Lord, she is not worthy of being on the same level as me." Lin Lushan raised her snow-white chin, like a proud white swan. The Nine County Lord was very unaccustomed to Lin Lushan's appearance, but he was indeed not her opponent, and he was very aggrieved in his heart, and his eyes were a little red with anger. Zhang Ruokan stared at Lin Lushan and said, "Since that's the case, let's fight again in a month. If a month later, you can still defeat the Ninth Sister, I apologize to you for what I said." Hearing Zhang Ruokan's words, the Nine County Lord suddenly raised his head and shook his head at Zhang Ruokan. What if a month later, she loses to Lin Qishan again? Do you really want the ninth brother to be that little cheap to Lin Lushan? People bow their heads and admit their mistakes. When Lin Lushan heard Zhang Ruokan's words, she was overjoyed, and she agreed, "Okay. Zhang Ruokan, you said this." A martial arts wizard apologized to Miss Ben, but Miss Ben was looking forward to it. Zhang Ruokan said, "If you lose, you must apologize to the Ninth Sister in front of everyone. Promise you." Lin Qishan has absolute confidence in herself and agrees without hesitation. During the year-end assessment, Lin Lushan was severely humiliated by Zhang Ruokan, and hated Zhang Ruokan very much in her heart. If she defeated the 9 county lords a month later, she would definitely not let Zhang Ruokan go so easily. Apologize. Zhang Ruokan, you think too simply. She suddenly realized that humiliating Zhang Ruokan made her more excited than killing Zhang Ruokan. Subsequently, Lin Lushan and Lin Chanu left the royal martial arts field. Lin Chanu said as he walked, Zhang Ruokan is not a simple character. Since he dares to speak, he must have a certain degree of certainty. You'd better be careful. Brother, you're too worried. With the qi accumulation liquid you brought back from the Yuntai sect mansion, my cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds. After a month, I will definitely be able to cultivate to the peak of the great pole position, and when the time comes, the gap between the 9 counties lord and me will only get bigger. Lin Qishan said. Lin Chanu nodded and said, with the help of the qi accumulation liquid, your cultivation can indeed improve rapidly in a short period of time. Let's work hard. Strive to reach the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm as soon as possible, and when the time comes, I will give you a Xuanshui pill to help you break through the Xuanji realm in one fell swoop. Xuanji realm. Lin Lushan's face showed a hint of joy. Lin Chanu said, when you reach the Xuanji realm, with your talent, it will not be difficult to be admitted to the Yuntai sect. The Lord of the 9 counties is just a stepping stone on your way to growth. As for Zhang Ruokan, he dared to go against the queen and was destined to die. Ha ha. Lin Lushan's eyes showed a strange brilliance, and she looked forward to the competition in a month. In her mind, she imagined that Zhang Ruokan apologized to her in a low voice, and the corners of her mouth hooked up a charming smile. The 9 counties lord said, Ninth brother, I heard that Lin Chanu brought back a large amount of qi-containing liquid from the Yuntai sect mansion to improve the strength of the Lin family's young generation of martial artists, and wanted to help the Lin family attack the 7th-rate family. It was precisely because of taking the qi accumulation liquid that Lin Lushan's cultivation was able to cultivate to the great pole of the yellow extreme realm in a short period of time. With the assistance of the qi accumulation liquid, after a month, Lin Lushan's cultivation will definitely become even more terrifying. It's almost impossible for me to win her. Ninth brother, you are too reckless this time. Zhang Ruokan shook his head with a smile and said, Ninth sister, you still can't believe me. That's right. What adventures did the 9th brother get? As soon as the 9 county lord finished asking this, he regretted it slightly, feeling that it was too presumptuous, so he said, don't say it, after all, it's your secret. After a period of contact, Zhang Ruokan felt that the lord of the 9 counties was still trustworthy, and it didn't hurt to tell her some secrets. Zhang Ruokan said, cultivation resources are important, but cultivation exercises are equally important. Ninth sister, the exercise you are cultivating is the spiritual, level low, grade exercise, 1000 waters decision, right? The 9 county lord nodded. The royal family has a total of 3 volumes of spiritual, level exercises, namely, 1000 water recipes, God of War strategy, and innate skills. Among them, 1000 waters decision, and God of War strategy, are exercises of the lower grade of the spirit level, and innate gong is the exercises of the middle grade of the spirit level. Generally speaking, among the royal family, only princes and county lords who opened the Shenwu seal before the age of 5 were eligible to practice the innate gong. It can be said that only members of the royal family who practice innate gong are qualified to compete for the throne. The first practice of the 7th prince was also innate gong. Of course, he later had other adventures and obtained better cultivation techniques. The lord of the 9 counties only opened the Shenwu mark at the age of 6, so he could only choose 1000 waters decision as a cultivation exercise. Zhang Ruokan said, the 1000 waters decision is only a low grade spiritual exercise. Even if you cultivate to the great perfection of the yellow extreme realm, you can only open up 16 meridians at most. The 9 counties lord glanced at Zhang Ruokan and said, what do you mean by a practice that is just a spirit level lower grade? Ninth brother, you must know that in Yunwu County, the complete spiritual level exercises add up to less than 10 volumes. Our royal family is quite remarkable to be able to monopolize 3 volumes. Quote. Moreover, a scroll of spirit, level low, grade exercise cheats can only be purchased for a minimum of 1 million silver coins, and the maximum can even reach 5 million silver coins. A skill cheat book of the level of 1000 Waters Duel, on the outside, will cost at least 3 million silver coins to buy. Quote. In the Yunwu County Kingdom, only 2 7th rate families and 1 7th rate sect each had a volume of spirit, level lower, grade exercises. Other 8th rate families and 8 rate sects only have remnants of spiritual level exercises at most, or only human level exercise cheats. Zhang Ruokan said with a smile. If the 9th sister is willing to keep the secret for me, I can pass on a ghost level inferior technique to the 9th sister. Quote. 9 County Lord exclaimed. He immediately covered his mouth with his hand. She widened her beautiful eyes, shocked beyond measure, and stared at Zhang Ruokan tightly. After a while, she calmed down her excitement and said in a low voice, "Ghost, level inferior exercises. 9th brother, where did you get such a secret book against the sky? Even if it is the strongest technique of the Yuntai sect, the most holy Chengkan Gong, it is said that it is only a ghost level inferior grade." Quote. Zhang Ruokan's words are too amazing. If they are spread, they will definitely cause him to be killed, and it will be difficult for even the royal family to protect him. Not to mention the ghost level exercises, even if it is a king level exercise, Zhang Ruokan has also memorized a few volumes. Course, if Zhang Ruokan really passed on the king level exercises to the 9 County case, not only would he not be helping her, but he might harm her. Zhang Ruokan said, "The ghost level lower grade exercises I want to pass on to you are called the Tianhe Jade Sutra, which is divided into 7 levels. If you are able to successfully cultivate the first level, you will be able to reach the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme Realm." Quote. Subsequently, Zhang Ruokan wrote down the Tianhe Jade Sutra in detail and handed it over to the Lord of the 9 Counties. The Lord of the 9 Counties took the Tianhe Jade Sutra and immediately began to read it. From the first time she saw Tianhe Jade Sutra, she was completely fascinated. It took a full 3 hours for the 9 county lords to finally memorize all the contents of the Tianhe Jade Sutra. Sure enough, it's a ghost level low grade exercise. If you can successfully cultivate all the 7-fold exercises of the Tianhe Jade Sutra, I really don't know what terrifying level it will reach. Quote. The Lord of the 9 Counties raised his head, his eyes flickered, and he stared at Zhang Ruokan movingly, and he wanted to kiss Zhang Ruokan's face again. Zhang Ruokan naturally saw the 9 county lord's thoughts, coughed dryly twice, and said, "9th sister, the ghost level exercises are not trivial, don't leak them out, it's best not to tell anyone." Quote. The Lord of the 9 counties said, "Are you an idiot when you are your sister? Ghost level low grade exercises are hard to find, and I definitely won't tell anyone. Even if my mother and father ask about it, I won't say a word." Quote. After saying this, the Lord of the 9 counties walked to the position of the lampstand and burned all the manuscripts of the Tianhe Jade Sutra in his hand to ashes, leaving not a single word. Zhang Ruokan said, "Now, you can transform the exercises you have cultivated into the Tianhe Jade Sutra. Once the transformation is complete, the quality of true qi in your body will definitely increase considerably. If you can take this opportunity to break through to the great pole of the Yellow Extreme Realm in one fell swoop, after a month, you will have at least a 90% chance of defeating Lin Lucian." Quote. The higher the grade of the exercises, the higher the grade of the true qi cultivated, and the stronger the martial artist's combat power. Just like Zhang Ruokan, just the realm of the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme Realm can defeat the third prince of the middle realm of the Xuanji realm. It has an inseparable relationship with the 9 Heavens Ming Emperor Sutra that he cultivated. After obtaining the ghost level inferior exercises, the confidence of the nine-county lord increased greatly. His eyes narrowed, revealing a somewhat playful smile, and said, "Ninth brother, you have even passed on such a priceless treasure as the Tianhe Jade Sutra to your sister. Say, how can my sister thank you?" Quote. Ahem. Ninth sister, we are sisters and brothers, why say thank you? A month is a short time, so you have to hurry up and cultivate. Quote. Zhang Ruokan turned around and looked out the window. The nine counties lord snorted and said, "If you weren't my brother, I would definitely make a promise." Quote. Seeing that Zhang Ruokan's face became a little unnatural, the nine counties lord let out a laugh, and then left Zhang Ruokan's residence and went back to retreat and cultivate. Also knows that this time the battle with Lin Lucian is quite important, and she must. After the nine county lords left, Zhang Ruokan entered the inner space of the space-time spar and began to cultivate. In order to achieve the great perfection of the Yellow Pole realm, Zhang Ruokan's chi pool capacity increased tenfold compared to when he was in the Great Pole position, forming a huge chi pool space that could hold more true chi. Now, the true chi in the chi pool is only 1/5 of the capacity of the entire chi pool. Only by cultivating the true chi in the chi pool can one go to the Xuanji realm. Ordinary martial artists, even if they are absorbed with the help of spirit crystals, spiritual chi needs to be cultivated in the realm of the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme realm for more than 2 years before the chi pool can be cultivated to perfection. Lu Chengfeng is also a genius. He reached the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme realm at the age of 17, but in the great perfection of the Yellow Extreme realm, he cultivated for 3 years, and he did not break through to the Xuanji realm. It can be seen that it is by no means easy to break through to the Xuanji realm. Even if Zhang Ruokan opened up 36 meridians, his cultivation speed was much faster than that of other martial artists, and it would take a year to complete the cultivation of the true chi in the chi pool. A year is too long. Zhang Ruokan couldn't wait that long, so he spent a high price to buy an elixir that could quickly increase his true chi to assist him in his cultivation. Taking one triple halal chi pill can only increase 1/20th of the true chi in the chi pool. He subdued a 3 halal chi pill and used the 36 meridians to absorb the Dan chi at the same time, transforming the Dan chi into true chi. Zhang Ruokan's cultivation began to advance by leaps and bounds. 3 days later, the true chi in Zhang Ruokan's chi pool reached 2/5, and it could burst out with the power of 94 oxen. In the past 5 days, the true chi in Zhang Ruokan's chi pool had reached 3/5, and it could burst out with the power of 96 oxen. In the past 7 days, the true chi in Zhang Ruokan's chi pool had reached 4/5, and it could burst out with the power of 98 oxen. Subsequently, it took another 10 days, and the true chi in Zhang Ruokan's chi pool was finally cultivated, and he could burst out with the power of 99 oxen, which was only 1 cow away from the extreme realm power of the Yellow Extreme realm. Xiaohe lay in front of Zhang Ruokan and kept staring at Zhang Ruokan until Zhang Ruokan's cultivation was over. Xiaohe blinked his round cat's eyes and sighed. "It's a pity, after all, I still missed the strength of a bull and failed to reach the supreme extreme realm of the Yellow Extreme realm." If we say that there is an 8th sub-realm above the Zhochen, the name of that sub-realm is the Supreme Extreme Realm. The power of 100 bulls is the Supreme Extreme Realm of the Yellow Extreme realm. The Supreme Extreme Realm is a small and dispensable realm, and only the gods of the ancient period can cultivate to the Supreme Extreme Realm of each extreme realm when they are young. After the ancient period, almost no one could cultivate to the Supreme Extreme Realm, even those great emperors, and sages. At most, they could only approach the Supreme Extreme Realm infinitely. Approaching the Supreme Extreme Realm and the Supreme Extreme Realm are two completely different concepts. However, the gap is like a chasm, one in heaven and the other on earth, and there is no comparison at all. It is precisely for this reason that Xiaohe sighed, feeling sorry for Zhang Ruokan, and said, "If you can reach the supreme extreme, you will be able to attract the resonance of the divine power of the ancient gods, and the benefits you will get are unimaginable." What a pity. It's still a line off. It doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunity to cultivate to the supreme extreme realm of the Yellow Extreme realm at all. Perhaps you can fight again. Zhang Ruokan's gaze is very firm, and he is full of confidence in himself. Xiao He shook his head and said, the true qi in your qi pool is completely complete, and there is no room for improvement.